Hi, I'm Peter Birch and welcome to today's show. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Today, guys, we're looking at giant monitors with my mate Rory. Welcome to CrittaCam. All right, we're here with Rory. Let's check it out, Rory. I mean, you guys have got an amazing place. And I mean, it's because these guys actually run their own zoo, right?
Yeah. Dragon Training Mobile Zoo.
Dragon Training Mobile Reptile Zoo. So basically, what we're doing is we're here at his private facility. This is not open to the public at the moment, right?
Yep.
So This is how he keeps the animals at home. So that's a very important message right there. How he keeps the animals at home is probably more important than how he displays these animals. Now, you talk the talk, but you also live it. You live these animals. And today I've seen exactly how you work and keep these animals, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, just look at this one enclosure right here. It is monstrous. And what have we got in here? We've got this fella down here.
Yeah, so we got this guy's our parenti. He's about 10 years old. His name is Big Slice.
Big Slice.
Big Slice.
Wow. He likes his food, does he?
He does, he certainly does. We've had him since about a month old. Loves a good chin scratch, but he is super warmed up today, so he's very much looking for food or other females or anything, and doesn't really like to tolerate us too much, but he's still super friendly.
Yeah. So basically we've just come out of winter, we're heading into spring.
Yep.
Probably a very important time of the year, especially for monitors. It's that time of love, right?
Yeah.
Time of passion and love.
Absolutely.
And not only just passion and love, but also it's about food. Restocking those energy levels.
Yeah.
And packing it back in. Obviously what I want to talk about today is your cage designs and the way you've got these guys set out. Number one, we look at this substrate. You know, you've got a really good substrate here.
Yeah, so we use Yuki mulch on the ground. We've got a wire base a fair bit below it. And it's quite good having the wire base because then we can just kind of put a new Yuki mulch over the top rather than and it just mulches down.
So you just keep layering it up, So like you say, the wire is an important part.
Yeah.
I mean, I've travelled the world, seen a lot of different cages, and same thing all across the world. Everyone that keeps monitors has a wire base, whether it be plastic or some people also use the geotech materials, very hard to pull and twist through. And wire is another, it's a very important part of this process. And then you can build up the substrate so they're not exposed wire, it's not exposed gravel or anything horrible like that. He actually has more sort of naturalistic environment. But you've got living plants, you've got all these areas, and I mean, I just seen him utilise his area here.
Yeah.
So for most people, it looks like there's just a pile of sticks sitting there. But for me, I noticed straight away, he knows that he can get in there, he can still sun himself, he still has the ability where he has this visual barrier between us and himself, so it makes him feel comfortable wherever he's going. And so it makes him feel comfortable, but he's able to, mimic more of his naturalistic behaviours.
Yeah, and he loves to swim as well, like for a desert species.
I know, that blows your mind, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we look around the cage here, I mean, so parentis aren't typically known to be an arboreal or a climbing species, and yet we've got this jungle gym in here.
Yeah, so he'll get up there. As you know, he's not the best.
He's not as nimble as he used to be.
Yeah,
he's getting a bit
old. not the best climber, but he does get up there and use it when he wants to. But he is a lazy lizard these days, just basking in the sun. But it's good to have it, and that's why we've got the polycarb on the wire too.
So you've got the plastic,
just to prevent him from climbing up there because he was
just freaking out a bit and probably rubbing himself
pulling too many claws when he wasn't able to hang on there.
Another aspect I'm looking at right behind you here, and I mean we're going to go in deep here, is this basking area here. And like I said, we've just come out of winter, heading into spring here in Australia, and we've got this basking area. Now what everyone should notice is there's multiple lights here. Now we've discussed this.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a lizard guy, more of a lizard professional I would call you, can you explain to most people why we need to have this multiple basking area rather than just a single light?
Yeah, so it's because the lizards are so big, if you just have the single heat light, they will stay under that light hoping that the rest of their body will heat up, and then that will cause thermal burns. So it's always imperative to have the basking lights, and we have the three, like two, we could stretch the two out, but we've got the three just in case one blows. That way we've always got a larger basking spot even if we don't see the one that's blown that particular day.
Probably more important during the cooler months here rather than the warmer months.
Yeah, like most of the time, this time of year he's out basking in the sun anyway, so he doesn't really need, like they're 150 watt bulbs, and then we've got the heated hide pad under there, so that's on 24/7. Doesn't provide it's just a heat cord under glass. It doesn't provide a huge amount, but it does.
But it allows him to have that contact with the warm surface.
Yeah, because the way, like even with our lacies, so later on, we still have the heat, because even though we're from the area, in the wild they'll find the ideal place that's the temperature that they want, whereas in captivity they don't have that option.
That's right. So usually, like with the lacies, they'll be in a tree hollow, they'll pull themselves out, get a bit of warmth, fall back in, or on a rock ledge, which usually heats up, and then they just come out and sprawl on that rock and suck up the heat from their belly as well as from the sun. Now I notice he's pretty stressed out by us being in here. He's probably more inquisitive than anything else. He's actually been following us around. around and he's just checking us out. Believe it or not, Australia's largest monitor, the 4th largest monitor in the world. And I've been fortunate enough to see the other 3 as well as this guy. And I can tell you now, hands down, I still think Parenti's win over all the other guys. Yeah, I really love Parenti's. And I think those colours and those patterns are just so unique and so amazing.
Awesome animals and super intelligent.
Very intelligent. I mean, look at the size of that head. There's a reason why they've got a big head.
Yeah.
It's not just to catch the food, it's all about the thinking processes. Now you've got so many more cages, so many other cool things for us to see. Let's go and check them out.
Yeah, sounds good.
So we're here now in the Mertens water monitor enclosure, and I mean, I love Mertens, and you don't usually see a lot of people keeping Mertens, which is sort of crazy, right?
Yeah, it's just, people shy away from water things, but it's crazy because you can make such amazing environments for them.
That's right, and they're supposed to be Australia's most aquatic monitor, right?
Oh yeah, they swim through the water like a crocodile, these guys. They love it.
I mean, they've got that tail shape, that very defined tail shape. Now, it's a beautiful laid out enclosure, and like I said, you know, aquatic is the most important part. So you've got this huge water mass rolling through the cage here. I mean, I call it a cage, but it's more like a haven.
Yeah,
to be honest.
They love it in
And I mean, you're lucky enough, you're sitting here on a lay box, obviously,
Yep.
or a refuge box. They use it for both reasons, right?
They love to sleep in it.
That's right, so they'll get in there, they'll cuddle down.
Yeah.
But there's plenty, ample places for these guys to hide. Now, there is a pair in here. There's a little face there that just responded to my hand.
Yeah, just watch out for that one.
Bit of food, but that's okay. And then obviously the second one sitting up there. Now, these are, like I said, I think these guys are quite intelligent animals.
Yeah, they're one of the more intelligent species of going.
And obviously, so what are you feeding these guys? Obviously, things like Parenti's and lace monitors can live on a very heavy rodent-based diet, and obviously birds and stuff like that. Now, when we're looking at Mertens, these guys have a bit more variety in their food, don't they?
Yeah, like their favourite, which we don't give them too often, is the yabbies.
Yabbies,
They love the yabbies.
Yep.
We'll give them fish and prawns, and
They live in the high life.
do give them the rodents as well. And when we do, the turtle tries to steal them.
Yep. And like I said, like the big fella over there, he was quite inquisitive. These guys are more inquisitive than food responsive.
Very much so.
So that leads me down a whole different track again. But obviously, it's the way you work with your animals that makes them a little bit less more, I guess, sketchy, flighty, unreliable.
Yeah, like they're all it's about knowing the animals really. Like you go into an enclosure with same animals, but it's someone else's enclosure, and really you can kind of, if you're looking at the signs, you can
watch their body language.
Watch their body language. That's it, and
like
do
this
what
one
you're
up
doing.
here is sitting there. I mean, obviously the bigger guy is sitting down there. He's a little bit on the feeder side, but she just looks like an absolute darling.
Yeah, she's one that we take them both to shows. She's one that will just, when we take her to a show, she's more inclined to just climb up on your shoulder and sit there.
And just chill.
Yeah, whereas he'll kick up a bit of a stink because we didn't put as much
there again,
weight.
it could be more the fact that, like you say, it's an individual personality, but it also could be because of their gender as well.
Yeah, and we also like put work straight away into her, whereas him, it was we didn't have the time until we got him out here, so it's kind of slower getting him used to it. Yeah,
and he's just sort of slinking down the back here. He's obviously just
he's still very comfortable with us.
Yeah, he is very comfortable.
It's just he's ready for food when the opportunity arises.
So typically, I mean, obviously with all reptiles, if they're not used to people, they typically just spend a lot of time hiding, going into refuge.
Yeah.
And obviously we've come into these guys' environment. We haven't done anything different. We just walked in, and these guys are just doing what they're doing, right? So obviously he's very inquisitive. She's very relaxed. They're both relaxed because he's obviously not hiding, squirrel away somewhere in the box. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
So it's the two big things when training monitors is getting them rid of the fear, which these guys have lost the fear, and then teaching them that you're not food, which is sometimes a constant reminder you have to give.
It's a constant reminder, that one for sure. I mean, this enclosure is awesome. I mean, beautiful living plants, all this cool stuff. Let's go and check out another one of your awesome cages, man.
Sounds good.
Right, now we're in the big lacy enclosure, and I mean, this is an impressive enclosure for so many different reasons.
Yeah, it's definitely my favourite.
We're talking, I mean, knowing exactly what lace monitors are like in the bush, right? They're probably the most arboreal species of goanna we have in Australia, I would believe.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And obviously they come in a few different colour phases, or colour coats, or paint jobs, if you will. You have the normal speckled variety, and then we have this big chunky banded, which is usually referred to as a Bell's face lace monitor. Both of them are just different colour patterns of the same animal. Knowing these animals, personally, they are built for climbing. You know, you look at those claws, it's not just a normal claw, it's got that little extra twinge on the end to dig deep into bark and, you know, hard logs like this.
You can see all the scratch marks.
Yeah, you see all the scratch marks, and I mean, it does exactly the same to your arms. And the second thing too is the front legs face forward and the back legs face almost backwards, don't they? Giving the absolute amazing ability to hang upside down, vertically perched on branches and stuff like that. And I mean, you can see this guy, I mean, he's quite adept in here. But like I I said, you've got all these different multiple areas and all the branches. Hello, buddy. All the branches, you know, like it's very important not to just keep the same diameter throughout the whole enclosure, right?
Even like maybe 1.5 meter to 2 meter long lacey could sit on something like this and we'll climb on all of the thin branches.
And that's the thing that really blows your mind, right?
Yeah.
You've got this big, monstrous animal and you can hang on to something like this quite comfortably.
And they'll use it, and it's amazing to watch them use it. Like it's the best.
Now, typically, obviously, these guys are opportunistic. They'll eat just about anything and everything,
Yeah.
even their own kind, if they're small enough or unfortunate enough to come across. You know, when we're looking at cage designs, and that's what we've been looking at today, you know, we've got all these branches, plenty of areas for these animals to climb and move about through the enclosure, which is very important. And obviously, it's an arboreal species, so we need vertical height, right? So we need the vertical height. But we also have the horizontal ability here, and we have multiple hide areas. And like in all your enclosures I've seen, are basically these lay or refuge boxes. So a box that's designed that the animals can get away from and feel very comfortable. And I mean, I look like a bit of a novice there trying to open it, but obviously inside the box here, this is probably a bit more ready now for like an egg medium maybe, but also that would help the animal to shed as well, right?
Yeah, they love the moisture in it. All of our monitors seem to, whether they're desert or rainforest, they love the moisture in the nesting boxes to get in there. So we try to have it in there whether we're breeding them or not.
So it allows them to pick and choose, right? That's probably one of the coolest things about these enclosures. The animals get to pick and choose where they want to go. And obviously like this guy, he's picking and choosing at the moment. But you've got another box hiding over in the back corner there.
This one's just their kind of their sleeping quarters. So
that's basically like a winter hide or a warm box, right?
Yeah, so it's got the heat cord on the bottom, just protects them from the rain. Nice and easy for them to get in, and they find it every night if they're not haven't decided.
So basically, they just gravitate towards the warm area, sleep the night, and then depending on the weather, they'll pull themselves out of bed in the morning.
That's it. Like if it's too rainy, they're in there. If it's not too rainy, they'll go into the nesting box. And I don't think I've ever really seen them. These guys sleeping outside, or any of our lace ones sleeping outside. They love to just.
They like to have that ability to, like, I guess like snakes, they like to have that tactility where they like to be in and feel comfortable and touch things.
Location.
These cages obviously have big viewing glass areas. Obviously you see a lot of big viewing glass areas in zoos and things like that. But more importantly for you guys, it's about seeing your animals and observing your animals on a daily basis, but also the animals seeing you and being used to the ability of seeing movement.
The more they get comfortable with us just moving about, the more they really don't care if you're in the enclosure wandering about.
So this enclosure itself, like you were saying before, this is like your breeding enclosure.
Yeah.
And there's probably two main facets to this area. This is like the big open area at the moment. The second part is right here, where you have a secondary area, also equally sort of decked out with a bit of branches, and I mean you've got water in here, which is always a bonus.
Yeah.
I mean, some people say with monitors or with some of the desert species, they don't really drink a lot of water, so we don't offer them water on a general basis. We just spray them every now and then.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Which is crazy, right? Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest injustice reptile keepers in Australia and probably not across the world do, is not hydrating our animals enough. So like I said before, you've got this big giant area. During the main time of the year, it's open, where they can use the whole environment. But then during the breeding season, where the female may be looking towards laying eggs, or the male's still pestering her.
As soon as she's going in there, because he'll leave her alone, but he won't leave the nesting box alone because it's his favourite spot to sleep. And then she'll hold on to the eggs because she's getting disturbed.
Yep. So egg retention usually means a few different things.
Yeah,
which means you're going to lose your clutch.
That's
number one.
it. Yeah.
The secondary thing is you could actually lose the female.
Yeah, you don't want egg bound. And
so I noticed what you did here is pretty ingenious. You've actually got a door where you can switch off the two parts of the room. And I mean, it's not super technical.
No, nice and
it's kind of simple, right?
And it's the same enclosure, so it's not pulling them out and putting them back in.
You're not taking him away from what he knows. He knows this area. So basically what you do is you let the female have the free range, and then you just ostracize the male until the female lays her eggs.
Yeah.
And then what, you give him a couple of weeks afterwards, and then you let him come back in?
Yeah, like a couple of good feeds afterwards so that she's had time to feed by herself. But these days, because the male's always a lot bigger than the females, we'll usually just feed her outside. So she'll just come outside, we'll feed her there, we'll feed him inside.
Well, that's pretty cool too, you know?
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, if you guys want to learn more about Rory and what he does, make sure you hit the links. They're in the description down below. Thanks for watching CrittaCam.